Hello, hi. This is Nishant Malhotra. I'm with Mr. Eric. Mr. Eric, you were very visionary. You founded the first impact investment fund in India, Unitus Capital. It was in 2007. Am I correct?
Yes, I think it was one of the pioneering impact investment banking firms in India. So, and correct, I moved here in 2007 and we launched the firm in 2008.
Yeah. So, and that is absolutely visionary in terms of what you're really doing. You're working for you try to fund companies. You're doing investment banking, trying to helping less privileged people in the society. Now, when you look at impact investment fund, even still, it's less than 1% of the capital which is worldwide. So, how did you first arrive at this vision of you wanted to make India as a center, and where do you think you want to take United Capital from here?
Sure. So, to be honest, the idea of starting Unitus Capital was not my idea. We were incubated by Unitus Labs, which is a Seattle-based organization that over time has incubated multiple companies trying to find innovative solutions to poverty. And so they had the idea to start this. They actually had a team already on the ground here in Bangalore. And so a couple of those team members, Abhijit Ray, JD Chakraborty, were here, and they had people in Seattle, Kylie Charlton, and others. And so they kind of paired us together and had this idea to start an impact-focused investment bank. India was a very logical place to do it because you need, for our business, one, you need a large low-income population, and you need a well-functioning capital markets. And so India has both of those, and it also helped that India has the biggest microfinance market in the world. And when we started, we were focused primarily on the microfinance sector. And so we set up the firm 11 years ago and have been raising capital for different impactful companies here across the fintech, SME finance, microfinance, education, healthcare, women empowerment, clean tech, agriculture, etc. And we've been able to raise. We have an amazing team here of more than 40 people. We've been able to raise more than $2.5 billion for different impactful companies, primarily in India. We do a little bit of work elsewhere. In terms of where we want to go, earlier this year, we started a finance company, UC Inclusive Credit, that is slowly scaling up and providing credit to these same kind of impactful companies. It's early days, but so far that's going extremely well. And certainly over time, we want to build a global full-service impact investment bank. So we want to be working across the emerging markets, providing a full suite of services. So we want to continue to be raising capital for impactful businesses. That's our bread and butter. But we definitely want to expand in other areas in terms of providing capital directly ourselves, both debt and equity through various asset management products, as well as over time servicing individuals and institutions who are looking for investments where they can both partner having a strong financial return with a strong social impact.
So Eric, you're doing a lot of work in microfinance space, and that's one of your core expertise. Now, what do you think are the critical enablers in India? How do you see the sector different from what you have seen abroad? And what are the key enablers you think in India which makes you succeed in the sector?
Yeah, so I think microfinance has done better in India than it has probably anywhere else in the world, at least in terms of scale and also in terms of bringing the cost down. There are multiple things that have allowed that to happen. One of the critical things is the government regulation here. So the banks in India are required to lend 40% of their balance sheet, 40, to priority sectors. And so those regulations have been in place for decades. One of those priority sectors is microfinance. So the banks are strongly encouraged to lend to the microfinance sector. That's been a great thing for the microfinance sector. It's candidly also been a great thing for the banks because despite various kind of ups and downs in the sector over the last 10, 15, 20 years, the microfinance companies have been great credits, and the total amount of non-performing loans that they've had has been much less than 1%. So this has been great credit for them. And then I think the sector has also been, it's enabled by having a massive market that the companies can address. That's very helpful. And then certainly another thing that has happened is that the companies are able to, you have so many phenomenal entrepreneurs here, many of whom have come out of the banking sector or finance sector here, some of the early ones out of the NGO sector. And of course here they've been able to replicate the the success that Grameen Bank and Asa and Brock and others had in Bangladesh, and at the same time do many innovations in the market here.
You worked with CD Salman Brothers. You were in New York. You were in Hong Kong. I've been to Hong Kong. It's a very vibrant place. So you've been in two financial hubs, two of the greatest cities in the world, I would say. What do you think were the key sort of similarities and differences between the two global cities when you're working? You work in investment banking space, so that's anyway a very high pressure point job. When specifically in these two centers.
Yeah, so I think there are a lot of similarities between New York and Hong Kong. They're both vertical cities full of skyscrapers. They both obviously have very large population bases, although smaller than Bangalore. And they're both massive financial centers. And so at least when you're there working in investment banking, it seems everybody is working in finance or in kind of adjacent cities. So it's quite a contrast. We've been living in Bangalore for the past 12 years, so quite a while. And here it seems that everybody's an entrepreneur, whereas in Hong Kong it seemed like everyone was a banker or a lawyer or something like that. And so I think here it's obviously much more chaotic. It's a less vertical city. It's a bit of a bigger city. Bangalore has better weather than either of the other places, but it's also just it's a much younger population, and so a much more energetic flavor. But all three certainly are great cities.
And it's one of the most fantastic things which you have done is you have been rated at 4 times the best investment bank in India, specifically in this space. Now, whom do you think as your close competitors, and you think how are not only you and others enabling the whole ecosystem, because it's a huge boost. India today is very vibrant, of course, because of the work which you are doing and other organizations are doing, and this is a huge enabler, which I would say has been one of the critical enablers in India, especially in social impact space. So who would be your biggest competitors, and how do you think we can leverage more to increase this ecosystem? Funding is one of the major parts of the whole pie, but any other initiatives which you think could be done to?
Sure. So we definitely face competition. I think every business faces competition. Our competition is primarily from the other mainstream boutique investment banks in India, of which there are quite a few good ones. So for a really good company that's raising a more meaningful amount of capital, we face competition all the time, which is fine and good, and obviously great that companies have choices. As an impact investment bank, I guess we're probably the biggest in the world. So it's not this impact investment banking is not a massive global sector. It's maybe growing, but not dramatically. So I don't think we face much pure play competition, but for different mandates, it'd be different based on the geography and sector and whatnot. But we're certainly very happy to have competition, and fortunately we have been successful quite often, and our team has earned the trust of our fantastic clients again and again. So I mean certainly it's been some ups and downs, but overall quite good.
So one last question: would you like to share any insight which you think would help people in sustaining their business? It could be a book or something. It could be a documentary or something. Any of your thoughts you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so I think that we work with entrepreneurs all the time, and in India at least, there's not usually like some massive permanent differentiating factor, some moat around your business that's always there. And so I would say one is, as an entrepreneur, you have to focus all the time on execution and culture, those two things, and that culture will eat the strategy, and execution will be better than having the best product. And so really focusing on execution and culture is how you build a great business here. In terms of recommending a book, I'm happy to do so. A friend of mine just wrote a book that's just been published, so probably unlikely that any of your viewers would have read it yet. His name is Chris Varelis. The book is called How Money Became Dangerous. It's Chris we worked at the same time at Salomon Brothers, and he was there for a long time at Citigroup, and then runs Riverwood Capital now, a leading tech private equity firm in the Valley. And but the book basically chronicles the last 30 years of kind of some of the crazy things that have happened in the financial sector. So it's so many incredible stories, but at the same time, it really focuses on how the capital markets have really become dangerous and how the financial system is at risk. And it offers some solutions on things that we can do that. So I highly recommend the book, How Money Became Dangerous.
Thank you. I mean, this Liar's Poker also, talks a lot about Salomon Brothers. You have John Merriweather in LTCM Crisis, we set up the fund. So Salomon Brothers, keeps featuring in a lot of the whole financial ecosystem. It's like fingerprints are there. We keep it on. Thanks. Thank you for, sharing and giving time. And I'm looking forward to again meeting you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.